Hi, what's up, buddy?
Hello, hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing. What's up?
Congrats on winning Wisconsin. You've got to feel really good about DGG's role with that.
Yeah, the duders went out. I think you said you got about 25 of them. I didn't even promote it that heavily on my end because I've been traveling and shit. So,
Yeah, no, that was exactly it. I think the entire effort overall, I'm still waiting for the total numbers on that. It was about 7,500 houses that everyone hit, but just that weekend, it was crazy. Like it was almost 2,000 houses. So
nice.
y'all should be very proud of helping us win on that.
Well, very cool. Well,
Yep.
what'd you come to chat about today? What do you want?
I want to talk about the Matt Taibbi thing. I feel like I understand this a lot from both sides. I both worked with Twitter to set these policies, and I know Matt Taibbi more than a little bit. So I feel like it's one of these things where the truth is really in the middle and everybody's missing it.
Okay, well, I'm interested in this conversation because I think the truth is as far from Matt Taibbi as could ever possibly be, or maybe more specifically, if there was a truth, Matt Taibbi has positioned himself in such a way that he will never be able to uncover it. But
I do agree with that. I think people have Matt Taibbi's motives really misread here. I mean, I think he's an honest journalist trying to get to the bottom of this story, but I think he has such heavy biases here that he's not really able to think through that, right? Like it's almost like he has such an extreme knee-jerk reaction to any kind of government pressure or involvement in deciding what to basically working with Twitter, right? That seems really fascist to him, and I obviously don't think that's true.
yeah, and I'm empathetic to that, but I think that I think this is one of the important times where you could see clearly like why an editor is so important.
Yeah.
Because when you're in charge of getting all the sources from one billionaire, vetting all those sources, printing the material, and having no oversight in that entire process, like a personal bias can literally corrupt and rot from the core any type of investigative work you're doing. I spoke to someone in chat, I don't know. It was the guy that did the COVID Twitter files. His name started with a Z, and then another journalist that was peripheral to them, somebody Leighton, and he's gonna get mad at me because he gets mad when I talk about him. But the amount of the lack of like journalism that these guys did, like.
Yeah.
Was insane to me. Like not reaching out to people for comment, not trying to verify anything. Just the entire premise of like, I'm going to write. Oh, Leighton Woodhouse is one of them. I don't remember what the other guy's name was. The idea that I'm going to write an article about the prior owners of an organization that a billionaire just bought, who's now bringing me in to write articles about them. It's like, bro, you're doing PR. Like that's
Yeah.
insane to me. Yeah.
This is a wider problem with Substack too, right? I mean, I don't know if you read Bad Blood by John Carreyrou, but if you read that story, his editors kept saying, "Go more, get a second source. You've got to corroborate this." And as a result of that, it made when the Elizabeth Holmes allegations come out that much stronger. That's why he's a celebrated journalist. When you have all these Substacks that take the editor out of the equation, I think what we're seeing is a lot of good journalists do some of the worst work of their career. It happened to Emily Yaffe, who I've been following her at Slate for, my God, almost 20 years. I don't agree with everything she's done, but she's clearly doing the worst work of her life over here with Barry Weiss, and it's a real problem in my view.
Yeah, I think you start to see there's the classic joke with libertarians. I think they even on Family Guy did this one where it's like a community like decides to be completely free and they tear down the government and then slowly they rebuild the government. Like, oh well, we're going to need an organization to police the people. Oh, we need an organization to make sure our food is safe. And it's like, oh, we've got fucking government again. It feels like we do a lot of these things where it's like, okay, journalism. Let's get rid of the corrupt mainstream bullshit. Get rid of all the copy editor. Get rid of all the editors. Get rid of all the oversight. Let's just do raw journalism. It's like, well, maybe there's a reason why this is a really bad idea. Maybe some of the checks and balances that existed are important. Maybe things like corroboration is actually more important than we gave it credit for. Rather than just a billionaire giving you information to shit on the prior owners of his company that he now has a massive financial investment in trashing, and then reporting on everything that he's giving you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, I got to know Matt Taibbi. This is kind of his villain origin story. Not villain origin story, but this clearly was very, very traumatic for him, and this is when we met. So it was right after Gamergate, and I think it was like 2015, and I start getting these emails from anonymous people, and I'm sure you can relate to this. And it's people like, hey, go look at all this bad stuff about Matt Taibbi. Here's a link of him saying this about forcing his women coworkers to give him blowjobs under the desk. He's a sexual abuser. Please write, tweet anything you can about this. And I start getting deluged with this stuff. And I look at it and I go, this is probably more complicated than I'm giving, like, it seems at first blush. So I look into it and I'm like, no, this is quoting a book that's obviously satire. This is not true. And I forward it to Matt Taibbi. I'm like, I want to let you know someone's trying to run like a disinformation playbook on you, right? But a lot of my feminist friends did not check out those sources and did start running this playbook against Matt Taibbi. And it clearly damaged him. He did a lot of work in back channel to try to get the truth to come out about this. And I think you can really see a switch in his reporting. This was, he was doing reporting on Black Lives Matter. And after this event, you can clearly see in his reporting, he started to see the left as a little bit more of a villain. So I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that colors like my read of where he is today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, it feels like almost everybody on the planet's politics is basically defined by like who hurt them last.
Right.
So, like, if you had a bad experience getting canceled, it's something I've had to be careful of, obviously, because I've gotten fucking banned on Twitch, and I've got a lot of, like, progressives and shit attacking me, like, and obviously I fight with a lot of progressives, but I've got to be careful that, like, am I, like, a Republican now because I fucking hate progressives? Like, it's really hard not to fall into that trap, and I understand the desire not to. Or, I'm sorry, I understand how difficult it is not to fall into those traps. But, man, when you're starting to do, like, incredibly important journalistic work that's not being co-opted by, like, conservatives and Donald Trump, like, I think it's important to get this right. It's not enough to just be like, okay, yeah, like, I'm very empathetic with you and I understand why you're lying, basically, about some of the most important reporting that's existing right now. But, like, yeah,
I don't think he's lying. I think
lying is a strong word, but like, when you're
yeah.
so partisan that it's inhibiting your ability to get the full
100%.
Story, right? Like that
100%.
first question and I even noticed this because I was looking up tweets, because that was a question I asked when he's like, oh, tweets are being censored. I'm like, that could either be really bad or an absolute nothing burger when you're saying censored tweets. Like, is it like a conservative or like a somebody's tweeting like, I disapprove of Donald Trump trying to overthrow the United States, or or I support Donald Trump and I disapprove of the CDC. If tweets like this are getting censored, that's pretty bad. But then when I find out like it's just more like Hunter Biden dick pics, I'm like, okay, this is fucking ridiculous. Why wouldn't you say that? And I know, and that's another thing too, where I know, actually, and I said this on stream, what I said before I started investigating the tweets was, I said, if these tweets were legitimately political censorship, that would have been included. And the fact that they're not saying what was censored makes me think he knows who the tweets are and they're intentionally omitting them. Because if it was political speech, they would absolutely be screaming it from the rooftops. And then that was right, and I don't know, that really bothers me. But
I think he has a really maximalist version of free speech, which makes sense. Like, his early formative work was in Russia. He saw the fall of communism. It clearly has affected his view of things, right? But I'd be really curious to ask you this, because a lot of the work that people are critiquing him about, Mehdi Hassan goes into, there are 2 million tweets here reported. It was actually, I believe, 6,000. This academic enterprise was set up to measure, among other things, information warfare against the United States. And this is something I take very, very seriously. We do have bot farms out there that have determined it's cheaper to run disinformation campaigns and troll farms and exacerbate divisions here in the United States than it is to run a tank division, right? I mean, don't you think there's some role for government to play in listening to academics that are aware of this stuff and making policy based on that? Because I do.
All right, bye. Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.